Calabar, beautiful and calm. This is where our story begins. The story of transformation. This is where change agents are being raised to radically transform cultures and society for good, for God. Calabar, my city, my church. In 2003, a man arrived Calabar from Lagos with a plan to do business, stay for a few years and return to Lagos. At least, that was the promise to his wife. But little did he know that it was the beginning of a movement that would birth unprecedented change from Calabar to the world.
We've been working on starting a business. It's the production of decorative stones, granite and marble, what you use for flooring and, facial beautification of buildings, countertops for your kitchen and all of those kind of things. So we've been working on that for a while, and we did an analysis of where would be best to site the industry. And we chose Calabar. I had only been here once before, so this was all purely as an analysis of where would be best to site a company as well.
Like everyone in the city, he enjoyed life in Calabar. From the ease of driving through the free roads of Marion and the highway, to picking up bread and groceries for his family, to driving down state housing for church service, and of course, some gas refuel at Mobile. Life in Calabar was far easier and less stressful than the Lagos he came from.
If you ask me what kept me going, it was the fact that I thought I was going back to Lagos. I had a timeline that I was going to be here for a brief period, 4 to 5 years, and then I'll go back. So for me, counting down was very motivating. But things happen. So, but at the early periods, yes. While I enjoyed all those things that I said, I missed the hustle, the bustle, the opportunities that were all over the place, say in a town like Lagos, and I wanted to go back there. I actually made a promise to my wife that I was going to get back. We were going to go back. So,
as a man, you always have your plans, but God has his too. And sometimes, God's plan disrupts ours. That was the story of Pastor Tony Aliogena Raphael.
Like I said, I was going to fly out. So on this trip, I had gone to the airport, and then I realized that I didn't have a book. I didn't have anything I was going to read on board. So I made a dash into a bookshop right there at the airport. I bought a book. So I got on the plane with this book. What happened was that I finished that book before the plane landed. I was going to spend 3 days. By the time I landed, I knew I was not going to go ahead with the original plan. At this point, all kinds of things were going on inside my mind. I felt like the plan was not the plan of God. I felt like God was speaking to my heart. The 3 days I spent there, I read the book over again. On my trip back, I read the book again. So in 3 days or so, I read the book 3 times. Because I was shivering at some point. In fact, I came down with a fever. By the time I got back, I came down with a fever. I was to go and preach. My wife was even saying, "Why do you want to go and preach? You're sick. You're not feeling too well. Just relax. You just come back from a trip." I said, "No," because there was just a burning desire inside of me. But I wasn't clear. I didn't know if this was just me, my emotions, or something else. So there was a period in which I needed to sort myself. I was a bit confused. What do I do with all the things that I've been working on? How do I abandon this whole plan that we had? There was the issue of my wife, breaking the news and managing that aspect.
Leaving Nigeria is always an exciting news to many, and it wasn't different for Mommy Temi. But suddenly, she has to deal with the sad news that there's no more abroad. We are staying in Calabar.
I did not believe it. I felt deflated. I felt sad. I felt hurt. I felt like something big was being taken away from me, and I didn't like it.
It took me a long time before I even broke the news to my wife. And of course, the reaction, I didn't think she was going to just embrace the idea, but I also didn't think she was going to go as far as she was going, because, I mean, for some time we weren't talking, we were just, everybody was going his way, in their house.
I actually wanted to divorce my husband. I actually wanted a divorce, because I was really scared.
For me, it was difficult, but so I started fasting. I wanted to declare that this is what God was saying. I started writing and journaling. Eventually, I was convinced that I had no option.
After a long haul of struggling and negotiation, God's call finally received a yes.
We had an event outside this city, and while the event was going on, a man of God just walked up to my husband and told him what I didn't want to hear. And he said, Brother Tony, you're going to lead a church. I heard this message 7 times and I resisted it because I was not too sure. But right now, I just felt I needed to let you know, you are going to open a church. When the man of God says so, I just bowed my head low like this for a very long time because I was terribly discouraged.
I remember when we were driving out, she asked me that, what do you have to say to what that man said? I said, if it's true that God called me, you will have to tell me. I said, you will have to tell me directly.
I just wanted, for I and my family to go to church quietly, do whatever you do, really do whatever you want to do to serve God and live quietly. Greet people, just live a quiet life.
My first reaction was, where am I going to get the message week in, week out to be preaching? Where am I going to get the message? And then, I was looking at the pastor I was serving then and how he was carrying on. And I thought, I can't do this thing this man is doing. So I went on, I had those wrestling moments, and it was intense. And that's when I even started one of my time of fasting. I didn't plan to go on a very long fast. I just wanted clarity. I just wanted to be sure. I don't want to get into something and then 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. So I started that fast and praying. It went on for 40 days. My wife was scared because I was eating. But for me, those were times when I just needed I needed my flesh to just, take a lower position so that I can be sure what I was getting, But quietly, I think God was talking to me and telling me, as the more I, stopped talking and He was talking, there's a quiet assurance of I'm the one who is calling you to this. I will be by you. I'm the one who will lead you. So, eventually, I threw up my hands, stopped fighting.
Man proposes, God disposes. I had to give in because God is supreme over everybody and everything.
So, we began the good work of raising change agents.
We were living in Fiacon Estate. So, after a while, when I settled into the whole idea that I was going to go on with it. So I gathered a few people just to spend time together in prayer in my house. So we started meeting in my house, a few young men and families, you know.
I remember a particular meeting where Pastor invited I and Abijah to his house, and we're talking about the dream that God had put in his heart concerning the new work he was called to do. I also remember another instance where when Pastor Tony was still praying and asking God what shape this vision was going to take, and he asked me a question that I couldn't answer. He asked, Anika, what's God saying to you? And I just felt, okay, God talks about so many things. So what exactly do you want to know? You know, so, but over time, it took shape. We kept walking and praying, meeting with him. And I mean, it's amazing how quickly 10 years have gone by. Yeah.
I remember walking out of Faircon Estate that evening, and we're just sharing notes, myself and Anika, and I said, this is one decision in my life I don't have to pray about, because God had spoken to me about it before it happened. So that was my conviction. I just knew that this was what God had showed me and what God had told me about. So I couldn't do less than just jump in, and we began.
So we started in Mirage. It was interesting because that first day we had 79 people in attendance, and then within a space of a year we needed more space. So we had to relocate to today's Transcorp Hotel. It was then Metropolitan Hotel. And we met there for, I think, about a year. Before we started, God had already told us that we were going to have a tent. It was going to be on the major road in the city. In the course of just discussing, we were discussing, okay, it was time to move, so how do we get to move? Where do we move to? And all of that. It occurred to us that God had told us we were going to get a tent. The Lord had told me He was going to give me a sign, but I didn't know what it was, so I was going to go up to preach. And then a member of our church, who is a member of the trustee of the church, tapped me and told me she wanted to see me outside. She had traveled, she wasn't around for a bit of a time. So, and this was her first time of coming back into the service. She wasn't aware we were talking about anything about tent or even relocating out of the hotel. But you know, she just handed me an envelope. And I said, thank you. She said, this is from my son. I was just talking about the church and how the church has been so good to me and all of that. And he's asked me to give you this. So I said, thank you. I pulled out the check. It turned out it was exactly how much we needed to purchase the tent. Exact figure we were looking for. It was remarkable. It was really remarkable. So we bought the tent. It was just exciting because everybody was just driven, you know, to see that tent go up. Nothing like that in Calabar. So people were wondering, was Marian, what are these people doing? What kind of thing is this? And eventually the tent came up, and it's been exciting. And when we moved to the tent, that was our third year, I asked Pastor Sam Adeyemi, my pastor of course, if he could come. He agreed to come. When God calls you and you have someone who is ahead of you, to come there and, you know, put that stamp of validation on what you're doing is also important.
Certainly, building lives comes with both excitement and challenges.
I've had a thrilling experience, thrilling journey pastoring. It's been exciting, really exciting. Lowest moment, I think, is when you see someone that you've invested so much, teaching, training, loving, caring, and yet at the slightest opportunity or the slightest challenge, they just seem to forget everything that you've taught and go take the wrong path, and then sometimes end up with very unpleasant consequences. Have to. For me, I think that's one of the lowest moments. It just cuts the heart. And but overall, it's been an exciting journey pastoring here.
Raising change agents since inception, challenging norms and raising the bar at every turn, all at the pace of above average. City Church has seen 10 years. lives have been changed and transformed along the way.
10 years has been a very, very exciting journey, very exciting. And why it appears short is because the journey has been very enjoyable. When you enjoy a journey, it looks short.
City Church has brought me to a place of spiritual maturity, a place of realization of who I am in Christ and my purpose as a person.
I haven't had church like this in all my life. You know, I've grown in remarkable ways, you know, and what's most interesting for me is how the fuse, the social life, spiritual life, everything that, you know, embodies a man as a person into messages, services, and all that. It's pretty much exciting for me.
As soon as church started meeting and started praying, been there. So, conviction to join Pastor Tony. Okay, while I were in the former pastorate, he was also a pastor then. I worked with him closely. And I think I liked his message, I liked his style, I liked his humanity. He wasn't your typical pastor.
There was something about Daddy T that was beyond pastor. He was a father. Or he is a father.
True.
And he is a mentor.
Most of the things that we are even experiencing now, okay, are things that were preached on, discussed, and when we come into them now, it's very settling because you know that God had prepared us for it. It's a wonderful experience. Every Sunday is an experience.
I've really come of age, you know. I used to be a girl, now I'm a woman. I'm a mother, you know, I've learned life through the stages and it's fantastic. And this is one church I haven't hopped from. I have gone to churches. Never have I been in a church for 8 years. So you know what that means.
I had to marry my wife again in City Church. Yes. Yeah, I had to marry my wife again.
Marriage
renewal stuff.
I remember the choreography we did for Father's Day. Watching Mommy T dance, for me it was like the highlights. You know, and every year it just grew bigger. The anticipation became, you know, something everybody was looking forward to. And then the last one was when she played the talking drum. That's for me, those moments with women like me dancing, not just to glorify God, but to celebrate our fathers every year were my highlights.
Whether we are at home or abroad, City Church is where we call home.
I miss my kids at Kids Rock. I miss the place we normally play. I miss our songs. I miss the ability to impart them positively. And daily I pray for each and every one of them that they grow up to be soldiers of Christ. And I ask that God will continue to grant the teachers there the wisdom to impart these wonderful angels positively to the glory of God.
Happy 10th anniversary to City Church Calabar. City Church is a wonderful church, it's a great church. We encountered the church in 2015 and since then it has been a life transforming experience for all of us. You know, myself personally, my wife and my family. The series, the teachings are just amazing.
What more can we ask for? Growth and more blessings to the next decade.
I believe that the next step now is to take our ministry to a wider audience. What is happening now buttresses our belief even before COVID-19 that there is the need for us to begin to look at other veins through which we can promote the values and the principles of the kingdom.
The vision is 10. We are grateful that our God is faithful and we're trusting Him for better years ahead. Welcome to a new phase of change like never before. Shalom.
City Church moves with the time. So let me just leave you with this wisdom, you know. If I attend a church and my church is in the city, does that make it City Church? No.